and welcome everyone to the top 3 ways to get sellers to call you. Well, that's exciting, isn't it? So I'm MAPS coach Aaron Simons here, of course, with my co-host Emily Baker. And for those of you that don't know, together, we also lead a fast track program called Mega Listing Agent. It's a 9-week course designed to get you in action and help you take more listings. So if you guys like what you hear today, we'll leave a little bit of time at the end. We'll tell you exactly how you can sign up for our next launch coming in September. So Emily, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hey everyone, thanks Aaron. MAPS coach Emily Baker. I am out of Ozark, Missouri, and I have built a listing-based business where we were not only meeting with over 75 sellers every single month, we were signing over 50 listings every single month. So whether it's systems, conversations, I'm really excited to go through what we're seeing in today's market as our markets are changing on how to get sellers to call you.
Awesome. And again, I've been selling real estate for 19 years. I've been on over 1,200 listing appointments. And so, Emily, I think the most important thing for everyone to know as we get into the material today is this is not theory. This is not things that we think might be a good idea. This is from the trenches. What's actually working right now to get more listings, correct?
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's go for it. So the first way, how many of you have heard of Google Local Services? Put it in the chat, I'm curious. How many of you have heard of that? Oh, I see some people are using it. Awesome. Okay, so Aaron, what's Google Local Services?
Yeah, and so Google Local Services is a paid marketing service, right, through Google that allows you to advertise on Google and receive leads. And it's pretty simple. I mean, for anyone who's ever Googled real estate agent in your city, right, what happens is you'll see there's a couple at the top that are quote unquote sponsored, and then you have a list below it. Those sponsored agents are the ones that are using Google Local Services, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It says Google screened.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is it's relatively inexpensive because, and they actually have a calculator in there where you can put your zip code, how many leads you want, they'll tell you the budget. But on average, depending on what city you're in, the leads are anywhere between $20 and $60. Is that your experience as well?
That's right.
Yeah, and these are seller leads, right? Because you can be specific. And you have a big coaching roster. What percentage of your teams are using Google Local Services?
100%.
Okay. Enough said. Enough said, right? Because here's what's interesting. You can use Google Local Services and receive a seller lead that's going to cost anywhere between $20 and $60, correct?
Yep.
If let's say you went to Zillow, right? And you decided to purchase leads through Zillow, and Zillow were to send you that lead, how much would it cost?
35% referral.
Well, if it's on the flex, it would be a 35% referral. If you're in a market where you can just simply purchase space in a zip code, it's going to be between $300 and $800. Yep. I mean, $300 and $800, not $3, $300 and $800. So it's one of the most inexpensive, I think, online seller lead platforms that you can use. And it's also one of the easiest. Would you agree?
I completely agree. I'll tell y'all that most of my teams, that some of them are just starting because it's not a requirement, but it's strongly suggested that you are Google screened and set up when I work with you. And what I'll tell you is it requires you to get your Google profile up and going. So if somebody were to search best real estate agent in Spokane, Washington, or San Diego, California, that your name would pop up, right? It also is a great leverage tool with reviews. So Aaron, I know for me, Google reviews is a huge opportunity for a lot of my clients. I actually had a client that they were averaging we started tracking it a couple years ago, and they were averaging 10% of reviews posted from their closings when what we focus on expands, right? So we started to be very cognizant of that, got them to get 80% or higher moving forward. And last year alone, they closed 44 transactions. And you know what the lead source was? Google reviews. I found you on Google. I was reading your Google reviews. That team now has well over 300 Google reviews. And so, you want to start with your local competitors. Google best real estate agents in your market, see who has the most Google reviews, and there you go. Get more than them.
Well, hold on a minute though. So, because look, obviously the more reviews you have, the higher quality that lead that comes through. Because when they've had a chance to not only see that you're screened, but they see you have reviews and a lot of reviews, right? And then they read the reviews. My clients, who do follow that same method, oftentimes these leads are coming in ready to go.
That's right.
Right? They come in and they say, I found you on Google. I read your reviews. Can you come take a look at my house? But hold on a second. You had a client that went from 10% to 80%. Because a lot of us might be getting started. Maybe we don't have a huge database of people we can go get reviews from. Like, how did you get them from 10 to 80%?
Well, number one, we started with pre-written reviews. So the simple question that I challenge them to ask their client is, up to this point, what's the number one thing that stuck out since working with me? So they started just writing notes in their CRM of what that is. And then they started pre-writing their review for the client such that when they were through the inspection period, they would send the review pre-written to their seller or buyer. And then they would have the Google link, and all they had to do was copy and paste it and post it. And it was really simple for the seller.
Yeah, because here's what we know is that when people have a great experience with you, they're more than willing to give back. And yet when it comes time to actually put words to paper, they get writer's block. So I went on my honeymoon almost 11 years ago, and we went to Italy and we stayed in these amazing bed and breakfast. We had a wonderful time, right? And of course, their request was, would you give us a review on TripAdvisor? Because for them, that's how they got more business. And we left there saying, absolutely, this was an amazing experience. Yet here we are 11 years later, I'm still thinking about it, but we haven't given the review because writer's block, we get busy. Yet if they would have done what you said, because they knew the experience, they curated our experience. If they would have actually done it such that they made it easy, right? And said, hey, by the way, if this small description here is representative of the experience you had with us, would you mind copying and pasting it to this link? It would have been done 11 years ago. And yet here we are. So best practice around getting reviews from your clients and getting it from 10 up to 80% is to help them out and do it for them, correct?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Now, what if, again, I don't have a lot of past clients to go to? Does Google care whether they were an actual real estate sales client of yours or someone that just happens to be in your database?
No, it's not like Zillow where it has to be verified. That's the great thing about Google. Think about how many of us, I think the average followers or friends that the average person has is at least 1,000. Think about the people that know you, like you, trust you, your friends, your family, your allied resources, your professional referral sources, just, people that you've been in contact with. It's really easy. I actually just onboarded a team that I just started coaching, and they had, I can't exactly remember, but it was less than 30 reviews, right? They're already up over 80 reviews in the last 7 days. And you want to know what they did? They texted everyone that they know and said, hey, I'm in a contest. My coach challenged me to get reviews. Would you mind posting a review on Google for me?
Love that. So I think that's another important piece about it is don't get hung up on it having to be a real estate client. It could be anyone in your database that likes what you have to do or has something great to say about you. They can go ahead and give you a review.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because again, the system does work better when the more referrals, or excuse me, the more reviews you have. All right.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is, I'll give you one more tip, which is in its infancy. So again, some of you are using AI to write remarks for your listings. Well, play around with the prompts to see what AI can do in terms of helping you write those reviews as well. Don't be afraid to use technology to help.
Aaron, I want to just bring one more point up with Google Local Service ads that I think is one of the best things about this ad service is that let's say that it is a trash lead or it was a false lead or something. You can dispute the lead and you do not get charged for it. So that's the other thing. How many lead services do you know that you could go and dispute it and they'll give you your money back, right? Not very many. On this one, it does. And I think that's such a competitive advantage over the other ad services out there.
Yeah, I have a client that if she has a lead that comes in that's looking for a lease, she'll dispute it. She gets her money back every time.
Yep.
So now a couple downsides to it. It's not perfect. Number one, again, if you don't have your reviews up, it's not going to be as effective. So you really got to focus on getting your reviews up. Number two, if you are in a major metropolitan city, sometimes it can be crowded, but it's still an effective source. It's still highly effective. And then the third thing that you have to be ready for is, remember, this isn't someone that was referred to you because they know you or they like you or they refer to you by someone who does know you. It's a haven't met. So it is going to be a more competitive style of lead that comes in. So you have to be really good with your conversations, right? And when you get out to that appointment, you better be good with your conversations at the listing appointment, which of course we can help with, but just know that you got to be well rehearsed in what to say.
Yep.
All right. Anything you want to add before we move on to the number 2 way to get sellers to call you?
No, I'm good to move on.
All right. Okay, so real quick though, Ben asked a question about what's the recommended minimum amount of reviews. To Emily's point earlier, go ahead and Google real estate agent in your city, see who shows up, see how many reviews they have, and I would just say have a goal to have more than them. If you're in the ballpark, great, that would be a good minimum. But the goal, of course, is to be the number 1 review. You don't have to be, but just check it out. All right. Our favorite, golden letters. So what is a golden letter? Because there's a lot of confusion. I hear a lot of noise about this.
Yeah, so a golden letter is just a simple letter that's sent to a geographic area or target listings asking if they would consider selling their home to a client of yours.
It's that simple, right? It's not a marketing piece. It's a simple letter, very intimate, right? Addressed to the homeowner. Dear Emily, would you be interested in selling your home at 123 Main Street to a client of mine? Question mark. If so, please call me. Here's my phone number.
Yep.
You can put your logo at the top, right? You can put the Keller Williams logo on your signature block at the bottom, sign it. You take that letter, you fold it up, you put it in an envelope, and this part's very important. You hand address it, you put a real stamp on it, and you send it off. That's the system, correct?
Yeah, it's that simple. And you can be the buyer.
Yeah, well, and that's, people always get hung up on, well, what if I don't have a buyer? You are the buyer. Gary teaches us that the first question you ask yourself when you walk into a home, should I buy it? Should I buy it? Okay, fine. You're sitting there having a limiting belief around money. Guess what? Are you not connected to an infinite number of investors in your market, either personally or through some of the online, portals, which we'll get to? 1,000%. But here's what I like about golden letters. It's the economics of it, okay? So if we're doing this system ourselves, it's going to cost about 75 cents per letter. We know that postage just went up to, is it 61 cents now, 62?
Yeah.
You got to print the paper, you got an envelope, right? If you do it yourself, it's going to be about 75 cents a letter. Now, if we have a goal to do 25 a day, working days, which equates to 500 letters a month, the average response rate to those letters is 1 to 2%. 1 to 2%. All right, so look, worst case, maybe it's less than 1. You have 3 people that call. Maybe you get, 6 or 7 that call. So we're going to have between 3 and 6 phone calls from dropping those letters. Sellers calling you as a result of spending 30 minutes a day, right, putting together 25 letters. So now let's do the math. Let's just say the average is 5, right? So 500 letters is going to cost us $300 a month, and we're going to get 5 calls. Well, that lead cost now, if you do the math, is $60. It's $60. I'm going to go back to what Zillow would sell that lead to you for. In my market, I'm in San Diego, $800. And if you're in the Midwest, probably $300. And yet I can generate that same lead, if not better, for $60 in 30 minutes a day. If I want to do a little bit longer and send out 1,000 letters, the numbers only go up, right? Now, what we have to remember on this system is that you have to be consistent. Emily, how many clients have you had? Well, not your clients are amazing, but how many agents have you talked to, right? That they did it and they did it once and that was it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you guys have to be consistent, right? Because it's like an open house. One open house, no one shows up. The next person open house, you have 20 people that show up, right? It's consistency, right? It's consistency that makes the system work. And you can either send the letters to a geographic area like we talked about. Ideal turnover, you want to see 5 to 6%. Now, Emily, it's hard with fewer and fewer homes selling each year to find those neighborhoods with 5 to 6%. Would you agree?
Yes.
So if you're not finding those areas and you want to go to a targeted list, maybe using PropStream or some of these other services where you can target people that are have a higher likelihood of selling, such as, you know, probate or divorce or default, you know, age in home, age of owners, you can go target it as well.
Yep.
But either way is fine. And remember, if you don't have a buyer, you are the buyer. What do you want to add to that?
I think the only thing that I would like to add is if those of you who are getting seller leads in your database, you can literally use the golden letter as a text message. I know David, hi David, David's using it as a text message. He put in the chat, and he's using that as a follow-up with seller inquiries in the database. So there are multiple ways to use that message. The number one thing that we see a lot, I know when we first got it started with golden letters, Aaron, we would get the response of, well, just bring your buyer, or how much would your buyer pay, right? And I always use the 3-step prompt response of, hey, I completely appreciate that, you know, you want to know the price. And here's the thing, a house is really based off of 3 things. Number 1, the market. We know the market's strong. Number 2 is the location. Obviously your location's in high demand, so no issues there. And yet last, it's condition. And while, you know, your home fits the bill from what I can see on tax records, I've not actually physically been in your home. And wouldn't you say that you're not just going to sell your home or give it away? And everyone says, well, yeah, of course not. Yeah, so let's go ahead and identify what top dollar is in today's market for your property. And I can assess that with you whenever I come out, such that we can agree on what that price would be, right? And that's how you get in front of them. The biggest thing, the biggest objection that I get from clients on the golden letters is they're not sure on how to get from I send the letter to how do I actually get in front of them. And so use that 3-step, it's location, market, and condition. And I've yet to tour your home to assess the conditions such that we would identify what top dollar is in today's market. So if it's not a financial win-win, you're not going to accept the offer anyways. Can we agree? Well, let's go ahead and let me walk through the property and we'll go through that together.
Yeah, I love that, right? Location, you said location, marketing, condition, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. You know what? One of the, and just to answer some questions in the chat, do you send it to the same group every time? No, every time you drop the letters, it's going to be to a new geographic area or new list. The most you could ever do the same list is maybe every 6 months. Right?
I agree with that. Yeah,
Trust me, your markets are big enough that you can go 12 months without, even if you're sending 3,000 letters a month, you can go 12 months without repeating. Now, when they call you or text you get a lot of text from it, right? One of the first questions they ask, do you actually have a buyer? Of course I do. It's why I sent the letter. Now, whether your home is the right one, I don't know. We haven't seen inside. When can I come take a look? Right. Well, just bring your buyer. Bring your buyer. Well, with all due respect, you know, we don't know what your expectations are yet on pricing or timing. Let us come take a look. And then if it warrants it, we'll bring the buyer. We certainly don't want to waste anyone's time, right? Now, the biggest challenge that people have with the letter is they go and they look at the house, they meet with the seller. How do they move from my buyer's going to buy your home to, you know, you should really list the house?
Yep.
Very, very simple way to do that, right? We ask one question. What's more important, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, ease of sale or netting the most money possible? Because as a fiduciary, I have to tell you, if my buyer or you buy your home or you sell it directly to any buyer, without putting it on the market, you're going to leave money on the table. The only way to ensure that you absolutely net the most money possible is to list the house. So if your goal is to net more money, let's talk about what that looks like And by all means, we'll share with you how we can make it as easy and hassle-free as possible. How does that sound?
Yep.
That's how you make that transition. Is it ease of sale or top dollar that you're looking for? Because you can't have both. All right.
Yeah. Hey, Aaron, before we move on, I just want to answer a couple of questions here. So in terms of numbers, we obviously always want to be TCPA compliant. So do not call the do not call list if they are registered. But y'all can use, there's PropStream is Aaron and I's favorite. You can find not only the addresses, yet you can find phone numbers on there. There is Cole Realty Resource. There's a ton of different areas or aspects out there that you can mail, call, door knock. Those are typically and then do geographic targeted ads through social. So those are the 4 ways to communicate. You've got voice to voice, print, digital, face to face. So that's how you follow up with those. And then the letter doesn't need to be handwritten, just needs to be wet signed, meaning that you sign your signature and then they are the actual addresses are handwritten.
Yeah, I read that one wrong. Yes, letter can be typed, envelope, hand address, but sign the letter.
Yep.
And keep in mind, this call is about having sellers call you, right? Not you calling sellers. So just keep that in mind. The whole point here is to get them to call you. If you want to be, extra credit and go through the call list, then do what Emily says. Yep. All right. Should we move on to the third way?
Yes.
Sellers to call you. Okay. So this is a fun one. It's Mofer messaging, which stands for what?
Make offer for immediate response.
Make offer for immediate response, which, by the way, is in Shift Book. It's when Gary first started talking about it, right? So make offer for immediate response. Now, the OG Mofer for sellers back in the day, which still works, by the way. Anybody know what the OG Mofer was? Emily, do you know? Like the original Mofer for sellers that we used to see back in the, 70s. Yeah. You got it, Carmen.
Okay. CMA, home valuation.
Yeah. Call me today for a free, home valuation. This was like pre-Zillow. This was go online and get it, right? That was the OG Mofer. And so Mofers have come a long way. And I think there's a couple fun ones that we should consider going over here. Because when you have a great offer for immediate response, and we can then take it and market it to our database or to the public, which we'll get to in a moment, it's a great way for people to call you. All right. So Emily, I'll run through the list and then we'll go a little bit deeper on the ones that we need to. Is that cool?
Yep.
Okay. So the first Mofer is what we call a convenience offer. It's a convenience offer. So a convenience offer is basically the fact that you can take any one of your sellers and walk it over to Opendoor, OfferPad, HomeLight, and they'll give you an instant offer, correct?
Yep.
Now, for those of you that don't know, they'll then pay you 1% if your buyer chooses to take their offer. Now, who wants to work for that? Not me, right? So the way that you make a convenience offer work is that when you meet with your sellers in the listing agreement that they're going to sign, right? If they do decide to take that direct offer, they only owe you 1%. So what's cool is the seller pays you 1%. You're getting 1% from one of those platforms. You're now getting 2% to refer your buyer off for a convenience offer. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, so that's one Mofer. Mofer number 2 is the trade-in program. Well, that sounds pretty cool. Another way to say this Mofer is buy before you sell. We all have low inventory. We all probably have a backlog of people in our database that would love to buy, but they need to sell first. And how are you going to get a contingent offer approved? Well, guess what? If we could help our clients buy and then sell, would that be helpful? Yeah, tell me more about that. Well, here's the cool thing. There's a handful of companies out there that you can leverage that do this for them. Homeward, Knock, Ribbon, right? Some of those are national, some of those are more local. A lot of the major lenders have started doing buy before you sell programs. Does it come at a little bit of a cost? Because technically it's like the modern version of a bridge loan. So yeah, it costs a little bit more, right? However, if you can go get the house you want without having to sell and you're just paying a convenience fee is really what it is, it's a great talking point. Anything you want to add to that one?
No, I think it just goes back to what's more important to them, convenience or money.
Yeah, and look, the last one I'll share with you, and there's more, is the concierge program, helping people get their home in selling condition so they can net more money. you can either run it yourself, or if you want to leverage that out, Curbio is a national company. I think it's in most markets, right? Well, they'll come in, they'll front the money, they'll take payment at closing, right? But for you to be able to offer that as a Mofer is huge. And so what you do, Emily, is you take these Mofers, you market them to your database via email, via postcard, via conversation. You can run ads, right? If you want to market to the public with these Mofers. Again, they see that it solves a problem, it leads to more people calling you, correct?
That's exactly right.
All right, so what do we have to offer people if they want to learn more about what we're talking here?
Yeah, so Aaron and I are launching the Mega Listing Agent, which is our group program. We go through all of the lead generation tactics that work in today's market. We've got like the top 15 lead gen strategies, as well as all of the conversation guides and objection handlers, the systems, the resources, as well as pre-list, pre-qualification. We actually have a whole review program in there. So how do you, like, what's the touch program? How do you get people to pre-write? The full listing consultation, marketing plan, everything you need to know for sellers, honestly, Aaron. And it launches September 20th. We're really excited to be back, and it's 9 weeks. So go ahead and put the QR code, scan the QR code, and then we'll also drop the link in the chat for, thank you, Hannah, for you all to get registered. And actually we've got, Giselle, if you'll go to the next slide, we've got a free promo top objection handlers to close the lead to appointment every single time. And that is on August 30th at the same time. We like Wednesdays at 1:30 Central. That is, we're really consistent with that. So go ahead, put in the QR code, or we've got the link in the chat for you all if you have not yet already registered for that.
Yeah, so I mean, look, guys, this is what we go into detail in the program. And not just the lead generation, but then the whole process. What it looks like from appointment to closing, correct?
That's exactly right. I mean, we had somebody in one of our last launches that had personally reached out to me. She had taken, I don't know, less than 10 listings, but she has consistently stayed consistent at scheduling 3 to 4 seller appointments every single week, which was yielding her 2 to 3 signatures every single week just by implementing 2 of the strategies that we gave in the Mega Listing Agent. So
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, you got a list to last in this market. Can we all agree?
There you go. So if nothing else, guys, from today's call, if you haven't looked at GLS, make sure you do, right? If you haven't started the golden letter system, let's get going. And lastly, if you haven't thought about what Mofers you can be using for your database, or even out there running ads, by all means, I put that list in there. Let's start taking a look at it and execute on one of them.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you all for showing up, and we look forward to seeing you on August 30th. Y'all have a great day.
All right. See you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.